Hello, Boston tourists. If you're coming to Boston, you're probably not thinking about seeing wildlife, but there's wildlife here, and that's what we're going to talk about. Rats. This is Emily Sweeney of the Boston Globe, a reporter and writer for the Boston Globe, and she has a newish article on the Boston rat situation. Is that a new situation? Why the panic now?
Oh, well, I mean, it's definitely not a new situation at all. I mean, there's been rats in Boston, in the city, for as long as, probably people have been around. I think my editors asked me to do the story was after City Councilor Ed Flynn brought up his proposal, which he's brought up before, about maybe having somebody like a point person, a rat czar, if you will,
Hmm.
to take
King
on the
Rat.
problem.
King Rat.
Yeah, could call them that.
Okay. By the way, you are a dot rat, and I see you're proudly wearing dot rat t-shirt. That means you are from Dorchester, a proud
That's
dot
right.
rat. I am wearing my rat uh, t-shirt. And by the way, the I think you said in your was it your article that the species that it is Rattus norvegicus, or the Norwegian rat, which I believe is the name of an album by the Stranglers as well.
Oh, no kidding.
Maybe Rattus norvegicus might be an album by the Stranglers.
Oh,
We'll see.
wow. Oh my
So
God, that's great.
one thing I heard about were rat bites. People getting bitten by rat bites. I mean, is that something that's mostly happening to homeless people, or do people going to work in the financial district get rat bit?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I mean, it's not all too common, we looked at the numbers of rat bites, rat complaints in general. And what we saw was pretty much that there was a big uptick, especially around the pandemic. And, I talked to a rat expert who explained, one, reason what could have caused, more complaints to come up was, back in the pre-pandemic days, all the rats hung out, they hang out where the food is. And that's where, like, downtown Boston, wherever the restaurants were. And so when all the restaurants shut down and cut back hours, during the pandemic, what happened was the rats in general in Boston and other cities went to where the food was. And that was, out to the neighborhoods more, where, people were cooking at home more, and people were home seeing more rats come by. And then the pandemic, obviously, kind of, knock on wood, came to an end. And here we are, the restaurants reopened. So some of those rats moved back into the city, if you will, and other rats stayed in their, new locales in the neighborhoods.
So,
Um,
do you think the same rats travel out to the suburbs and travel back, or is it simply there's not enough food anymore, so they don't breed so much, and they just
yeah, I mean, I
morph?
don't think they're commuting to Boston, you know what I mean, to their favorite restaurants or anything.
It's like,
But like,
did you hear? There's more. It's back on in Boston. Let's get out of here.
sitting in traffic in the tunnels, I don't know. I don't think so. Um, I mean, the one thing is that, like, rats, what makes them such, they're very smart animals. They're very capable. They can jump up to 3 feet, high, which I didn't know until writing this story. Uh, and they reproduce. I mean, man, they reproduce. They can reproduce a lot. They can, like, a female can have like 6 to 12 babies and do that 7 times a year.
Wow.
So you start doing the math, her babies are having babies,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see how a rat problem can quickly grow out of control.
So,
So
what is the fix for this? What are they doing to try to mitigate the rat problem?
yeah, so I mean, one we had a photographer go out with some folks from the inspectional services department in the city, and they have like 14 of these inspectors whose job is like to hunt out the rats and, like, put down traps and and eradicate the food sources wherever they're living and hanging
Hmm.
out. So we got photos of them at work, and they're hard at work, all the time. The situation would be a lot worse if we didn't have these guys on the front line, with ISD doing this work. And City Councilor Flynn, what he wants to do is just to even bolster that by having like a rat czar, if you will, similar to, like, New York has a position like that,
Hmm.
to really, like, have an office just like solely focuses on on the problem, because it's it's an issue that it's an old one, but and it's one that's not going to go away until really it's human behavior. What the rat experts tell me that needs to change. I always find it amazing that, like, Beacon Hill, they don't have trash barrels there. You know what I mean? People put out their trash like in bags apparently, and that's just like putting out a buffet for rats. So
Uh-huh. Uh, you know, I know that rats, they transmit disease and, they were part of the plague and all. But I can't help feeling bad for rats because they're just animals trying to get by just like everybody else. And you get your squirrels, which are not that different from rats. They look related. Everybody loves the squirrels. They're welcome on the common. They bounce around. They're in trees. What's the difference? It's almost a kind of animal racism.
you
You know,
know that
it's is it just the puffy tail? Is it the rat tail that bothers people? Is it the way rats kind of move along the wall and not all cute like squirrels? That it's weird. We're pretty selective on the animals. We like that animal and we want to wipe that one out. And then they're pretty similar. What if squirrels acted like rats? Would we hate them so much? I guess that maybe it's the habits of the squirrels. The squirrels you don't see them in dumpsters and stuff, right? And greasy back of the restaurant dumpsters. You see them out in the nice parks and stuff.
Yeah. I think maybe it's the cute puffy tail. You know what I mean? That puts squirrels gives them an advantage. Of some sort. And also the diet, like rats, I guess, like they adapt to like really anything that humans eat. Just like you said, like greasy food, like in a dumpster, in the trash, they will gladly eat it up. Whereas I don't know, I feel like squirrels. I'm not a squirrel expert, but I feel like they're more of like the whole foods, like nuts and berries type.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
here's another thing. If we had to do what rats do, go eat in dumpsters and the greasy leftovers and the coffee grounds and stuff, we would hate that. We would think this is awful. Do you think they are bummed out by that, or are they comfortable? It's for them. It's like I know this is a little bit off track, but you think that their life sucks for them, or do they like it? Okay.
I think in Boston, I mean, to have neighborhoods where there's, trash just put out in the open on a regular basis, I think they're just living the dream.
All right. Barry Delorier says squirrels are rats with furry tails. Yeah, I've heard that. They do damage to houses. Happily, I don't have a house. Same with chipmunks, rats with tuxedos. Okay. Thanks, Barry. Rats with tuxedos.
Those
Okay.
well-dressed chipmunks.
Yeah. So, what is the status of the problem now? Is it much getting worse, or is it getting better, or what? And
Well,
what can people? Go ahead.
it's hard to say. So doing the story, that was one question I really had, was like, how many rats are there? Like, has it like really increased, or are we just seeing them more? And that's the thing, like, there's no rat census takers, you know what I mean? So we really don't know the exact population of the rats and if it's really increased. I mean, what it comes down to, I think, is a lot of it has to do with the pandemic, the movement of the rats during the pandemic, spreading out more and being noticed more. And yeah, and again, and just having the problem of, in neighborhoods where, there's no trash barrels and secure trash receptacles, it's for rats, it's a free for all. You know what I mean? They can shoot through any type of bag or anything. So,
So the
yeah.
takeaway is keep your just like if you're camping, right, and you don't want to get attacked by a bear, keep your food and stuff sealed up and don't just put it out in a bag, because I'm guessing a rat can gnaw right through a bag. Have it
Oh,
in a
totally.
sealed up container. And restaurants, probably they have people checking restaurants for code, like trash disposal up to code and stuff like that. So we're talking with Emily Sweeney of the Boston Globe. It must be cool to get an article on the front page, right? This is on the front page of the Boston Globe.
Yeah, it's on the front page of the Boston Globe today. If you pick up the paper today, you will see a rat that looks like it's coming out of the front page, actually, which looks pretty cool. I thought it came out really nice, and yeah. So I mean, always whenever one of my stories ends up on the front page, it's always like an honor. You know what I mean?
How often does that happen?
One of my stories get on the front
Yeah.
page. It's every few months, I'd say. Like it really depends on the news. Like sometimes it's breaking news. Probably the last front page story I had was some art that was you know mysterious. Well, a controversy about a piece of art at the MFA. I believe that was page one. But yeah, a lot of decisions are made by people well
Yeah.
above me. They decide what gets on page one, and so whenever one of my stories ends up there, it's always an
Yeah.
honor. So
So, congratulations on being a survival. Congratulations to the Globe for surviving, for one thing, and congratulations
mhm.
to you for surviving as well. Advice would you give to somebody just out of college as far as doing well within an organization, with a company? You did well. What do you tell them? Work hard. Don't be lazy. Don't be an a-hole. What do you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, all well, those rules are definitely, I would say, all extremely important for sure. And I would tell anybody in college or anybody who wants to break into any industry, a really great way to start, or even if you have a job within the industry, is to join any organizations,
Yes,
professional organizations, to network and to meet other people from other organizations. I think that's so important. That's how
that's
you
right.
learn.
You've said that before. You're very involved in professional organizations, right?
Yeah. I'm on two boards, journalism boards, and the New England First Amendment Coalition and the New England Society of News Editors. And again, it's just like meeting folks from other publications, other media outlets, training, learning from each other. I just think it's so important, and I think that's probably the best career advice I could give to really anybody in any career.
And before we go, make sure to tell people about your books.
Oh yeah, so I've written a few books. I have a couple about organized crime. One is called Boston Organized Crime. The other is called Gangland Boston. I also have a book out about Dropkick Murphy. It's a biography of the real man, Dr. John Dropkick Murphy, who the band's named after. He's a professional wrestler who opened up a rehab center for people detoxing from alcohol. And yeah, he led a very interesting life. And actually on St. Patrick's Day, the audiobook is dropping. And Ken Casey, the front man for the Dropkick Murphys, he recorded, I was in the studio with him recording parts of the audiobook. So worth checking out for sure.
He's the voice of the audiobook?
He's not the voice of the whole book. He read the introduction,
I see.
and I read like the kind of the preface.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris Chula does an amazing job, voice actor. Did the rest of the book. So.
Wow. Hey, what's coming up? What are you working on for the Boston Globe?
And right now I'm working on. So I have a weekly column called Blotter Tales. Comes out every Sunday. It's about like funny little things that happen in police logs across the state. And then we also launched a cold case series about unsolved murders, which I've been really excited to work on. So I'm working on a couple cases that hopefully we'll be publishing soon.
Okay, and one final question, which is a light question, a personal question.
Sure.
Can you type without looking at the keys? Say, I was at a bar the other day, and some guy's just flying along. He's looking at the screen on the keys, and I'm thinking, wow, that must be so great. And then I wonder if people who write for a living all can do that. And so that's why I was asking you. And you're like, no, you kind of have to look at the keys, huh?
Yeah. No, I gotta say, I kind of look at I'm definitely not the fastest typist by any means whatsoever. I always say, hey, I look on the bright side. I've never had any carpal tunnel issues or anything like that because I'm like, so. But I get it done. I can transcribe really fast either if I'm using paper or typing. What I do is a little trick is that I usually use like the first couple letters of every word somebody says.
Oh, You
So
mean
that's
when
my
you're interviewing people, you write down the
Mhm.
first couple of letters?
Yeah, yeah. So
Wow. Okay, I do have one more question from a viewer, one of our smarter and most faithful viewers. He says, back to cold cases. Is the Boston Gardner heist a cold case? Is that included in the book? And if not, why not?
you know that's that's a really good question. Yeah, that mystery persists to this day, and the cold case series that I'm doing is mostly focused on unsolved murders, but we're keeping it open to any unsolved crimes all over New
I
England.
see.
So that's something that we might be able to tackle. Since starting it, I've just been so overwhelmed by like the number of unsolved murders, like just readers have suggested to me, and that I've found that haven't gotten much media coverage lately. That I'm going to be writing about a lot about unsolved murders. But the Gardner heist, yeah, I mean, I hope.
One of the people involved just died, says Phil.
Yes, he's probably referring to, I think, one of the security guards
Ah,
who
yeah.
let
So
him in. Yeah.
who was the Globe reporter that was most doggedly following this?
Oh, Steve Kirkchin.
Yes, I love that guy, Steve Kirkchin.
Oh, Steve's amazing. He's great. So,
He's
highly
so.
recommend.
I actually got to know him and went out to dinner a couple times, and we walked around Castle Island a couple times, and he actually took me. He has a theory. I don't know if you've talked to him, but he's got a theory. He took me to the Gardner Museum and walked me through every step of what his theory was. This
Hmm.
happened here, and this happened here, and so this had to happen, and this had to happen, and etc. I got to reach out to that guy again and hang out.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
Steve's great. I mean, he studied it so much that like any hypothesis that he puts forward, I mean, he's the man.
Okay. Phil says, I love that guy too, deserves a medal. He kind of does deserve a medal.
I
I mean,
agree.
he definitely deserves a medal. All right. We have rambling along, and it's your day off or you're working?
Oh, I'm working. I'm right in the middle of writing a couple other stories right now.
All right. Well, I'll let you go. So you won't have this excuse not to get them done. Emily Sweeney, long time a reporter for the Globe, like 22 years, 23 years now,
Mhm.
and a survivor.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk to you next time.
All right. All right. Thanks, Brad.